Hello, dear sisters and brothers. Welcome to The Bright Side. I'm Andre Achak and Beatrice de Cruz with me here on Catholic SG Radio. Now, here on The Bright Side, we invite our sisters and brothers to come in and to share, of course, with us their faith and hope stories and, of course, that which glorify God and the work that they do themselves.
Yes, and today's Bright Side episode is part of a collaborative series with Catholic Family Life. Today we're going to be talking about NFP, that is Natural Family Planning. Now, what is NFP and who is it for? Is it scientifically based or just guesswork? How is NFP part of living in harmony with God's design of life?
Okay, so we have two gentlemen here who will be fielding these questions, and they're no strangers, actually. Dr. John Hui and Andy Wee. Now, Dr. John is a husband, father, and a doting grandfather, I must say. He's a family physician in private practice and host of his own podcast series called Catholic Parents Online. Don't catch that one, huh? Catholic Parents Online. So John obtained a graduate diploma in bioethics from the Pontifical John Paul II Institute for Marriage and Family in Melbourne, right? And is also a certified natural family planning medical consultant with the Pope Paul VI Institute. Andy here has been married for 21 years, has 4 kids, 2 teenage boys and 2 teenage girls. Wow. And he's been involved in NFP for about 18 years and is trained in the Crichton Model Fertility Care System. He's also a certified NFP instructor in the Billings Ovulation Method. Andy, I'm going to start with you. NFP, sometimes people call it the rhythm method. Is it one and the same?
Right. So NFP stands for Natural Family Planning. It's a method of understanding of fertility. These days, we call it fertility awareness as well, to help couples to know when they are in the fertile days or the infertile days. And we use the Billings Ovulation Method. We teach that method to be married couples, married couples who want to understand their fertility. And it's very different from the rhythm method, which in the 70s and before our grandparents' time, they would count days using the calendar and estimate where the fertile days would be. That is very inaccurate, and we no longer use that.
Right.
Yeah, so we have progressed to look at cervical mucus, which is a direct sign that tells us the fertility of each particular day, and then the couples can use that information to plan their families.
Okay, I want to ask you, all that sounds quite technical, but from a very personal perspective, when you first got to know about NFP, what were your thoughts or even misconceptions, if at all, that you had about natural family planning?
Yes, I began not knowing anything about it, and it was during the marriage preparation course where we were introduced to natural family planning and how it's the church's teachings on family life. Absolutely. And so it was recommended that we go learn the natural family planning method. So I went with my wife, not knowing what to expect. It was a very enlightening session where we really learned about our bodies and how the symptoms from the bodies we can track down and use that to plan our family with great accuracy and reliability as well. And as a couple, it really helped us to understand each other and to really have good conversations about what we want to do with our families.
It must have been a good experience for both of you, you and your wife. You have 4 kids.
It was definitely very enlightening and gave us a lot of knowledge about how we can really plan our families effectively, naturally, without the use of contraceptives. Yeah.
Okay. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. So all of your 4 kids were planned then?
Yes, I would say so. I would say so, yeah.
Okay, wow. Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Hey.
So if we're talking about misconceptions, I think we have to ask like Dr. John also. You know, you're a family physician, right?
Yeah.
So what are the common misconceptions or even the fears that you have seen in patients that you come across?
Yeah, I think one of the commonest misconceptions would be that it is not accurate. They're still associated with the rhythm method.
Right.
So it takes time for us to explain to them how this system helps them to accurately discern when the fertile days are and when the infertile days are, and then they can plan according to that system and that rhythm in their system to plan their families accordingly with confidence.
Right.
I think the
Right.
problem is that many still have that misconception that it is not accurate. So when we actually explain to them how it works, they get more excited about it. And
Right.
in my practice, the interesting thing is that I don't see just Catholics. I also see a lot of non-Catholics who come to me
that's
because
interesting.
when they find out about the system and they Google it, they're quite excited about it and they come to learn more. And they're actually quite eager, takers of this system.
Because it's natural, right?
It's natural. And I think many people take to it very well nowadays, especially.
Yeah, nobody wants to stuff things down their mouths, especially if they have a choice, right?
That's right.
Andy, I just want to come back to you. My question to you was going to be whether you had any misconceptions about NFP and its effectiveness. But maybe I want to change my question, and I want to ask you, how did you and your wife discover the benefits of NFP, and how did it nourish your own marriage?
Yes, so I really came with no knowledge of it until MPC.
Right.
And we were introduced to the method, and we went to the center to learn with our instructor at Holy Spirit Church. Yeah. So we did the session, we understood what we needed to do, and we picked up the knowledge about the method. And it provided us a kind of a common language for communicating and understanding where we are in the cycle.
Right.
So the man and the wife can understand, is this a day of fertility or not? And, communicate about it, make plans about it, and decide, are we ready for a child? And if we are, we have to make effort. These days, in fact, more couples have to make effort to achieve pregnancy
Yeah.
than to postpone pregnancy, actually.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, and so, just like, if I remember, classes for MPC, right? We talk about money, we talk about in-laws and all of that. And so
Outlaws.
obviously, and outlaws and what have you. So obviously, I mean, now with the NFP that you went through, it gave you that opportunity to also talk about planning your kids, and also really, but actually also getting to know each other better. Your wife and then yourself. My thinking is that must have brought you a lot closer together.
Indeed.
And less shy in a sense also to talk to each other, right? About your bodies and your natural cycles.
Indeed, what is in our bodies is really God created, and it's meant for procreation, it's meant for strengthening the marriage bond, and it's something that we should talk about and be open about it between husband and wife, and be able to have that language to communicate and to build that intimacy between spouses. Yeah, and
Right.
really, as Asians, we don't have enough opportunity to learn about it, and we are maybe very shy to talk about it.
Yeah.
But really, it's very much
So
part of life. We should just
You
open
and your
up the
wife
conversations.
had no issues.
We had known each other for many years, so
Okay.
it was progressively we get to know each other better and closer. But when you come to getting married, and intimacy is really coming to the core and the
Right.
Yeah.
deepest closeness you can get to. So yeah, we do appreciate the knowledge the church has given us, and through the method as well.
John, I want to ask you, I mean, you've seen so many who've come to you. What about if you have, one part of the couple that finds difficulty in expressing him or herself? Because really, they have to be very upfront also
Yes.
with each other and
Yes.
very honest,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So how do you manage that, or
Yeah.
help them manage
Right.
that?
Okay, if you think about it, right, what are the ingredients for a good marriage? We'd usually talk about communication, intimacy, both physical and emotional.
Absolutely.
All right, discipline. All right, and the ability to make sacrifices. Now, these are really very important ingredients for a good marriage,
Right.
right? And guess what? NFP helps us build on these, right? So when I speak with couples, I'll usually share with them my own experiences. For example, during times when we realized that we had serious reason to avoid getting pregnant during that period of time, we realized that, okay, let's have intercourse on the days when we're not fertile. And then on the days when we're fertile, we would, in a sense, practice lovemaking in other ways.
Right.
All right. Talking more with each other, trying to understand more with each other. For example, sometimes during the times when we knew that we wanted to avoid having intercourse during that period when she was not ready for a child yet, sometimes we'd ask ourselves, why are we doing this? Why can't we have a child yet? And then sometimes she would just say that, actually, I feel very tired, right?
Right,
Because of the housework and all that. I don't feel as supported as I wish I could be. All right. And then as a husband, I say, oh, my goodness, I didn't know that. Would you like to share more with me? And then when she actually shares more with me, I realized that I've not been playing my part in the household. And that is when I realized that, okay, look, I need to chip in a bit more.
Right.
Or sometimes she'll just share with me that her insecurity about her job, that the fear of whether perhaps there might be a retrenchment or something like that. And then that will help me understand her better. And then we'll talk a bit more to find out more from each other. What's happening in your life?
Right.
Can I go more into your life, and we share more with each other what's happening in our lives?
It's very much, when we talk about the love language
Yes.
as well, right?
That's right.
And a lot of, I think a lot of couples, because of, pressure and also really actually fatigue, they don't talk
That's
to
right.
each other and share with each other their own love languages.
That's right.
Really. And what a wonderful way.
Yes, and NFP actually helps us to understand each other's love language better. And then to speak each other's love language in a better and more intimate way. I'm still learning.
Yeah.
After more than 34 years of marriage,
No,
I'm still
absolutely.
learning even as a grandfather now, and we are continuing to discover more of each other every day.
Absolutely.
And NFP has really helped us to prepare ourselves for this time when we really need to continue to grow in our love and intimacy with each other, even
Right.
as grandparents.
Absolutely. And even, if the nest is almost empty, so to speak,
Yes, that's right.
it's that relationship that really needs to
That's right.
continue
That's right.
to be
That's right.
built upon.
That's right. So when I share with patients, I usually share with them my own experiences and let them see how it can be applied to their lives. And if it is something that appeals to them and they want to learn more, I'll be more than happy to chat with them. And sometimes I'll say, if you're keen, bring your husband along or bring your wife along and let's talk about it more and I can share more with you.
Very
and
nice.
that's what can happen.
Very, very nice.
Yeah.
We've been speaking about communication, and also, you're a doting grandfather, a father, a husband. And I was wondering also, how do you have this conversation like with your children, right? Because I'm guessing some of them are already married and all that. And you're pretty much an expert at this topic of NFP. How do you have this conversation with them, and how do you share your advice or tips and things like that with your own children?
I've made mistakes. I've made big mistakes. I remember when sharing with them about the facts of life. Right? My eldest daughter was about 8 years old at the time, and my second daughter at the time was about 6. Then my eldest daughter came and asked me one day about where the babies come from. I thought, okay, I might as well tell her all the truth.
Right.
I gave her the facts as they were.
Right.
Soon after, she broke down and cried. She ran to the room, told her sister what I said, and they both cried on each other's shoulders.
Wow.
Is that scary? So okay, mistake number one, big mistake number one, okay? And along the way, so I realized that actually I had to share with them in age-appropriate ways, all right? So along the way, I had to share with them what sexual intercourse was for bonding and for babies, and that it is part of God's plan for married couples. And we share with them how through our own lives. Really through example, as best as we can. They know we argue with each other behind closed doors, but they also know that we try to forgive each other, and we are rather intimate with each other as well. And sometimes, I remember when they were younger, when we went out and we kissed each other, and they just playfully turn away and say, "Ew, PDA." But I said, it's okay between husband and wife. It's okay. So we carry on chatting, and then after that, as they went into their puberty and they realized the systems better, we shared with them about how the system works and things like that. We could then share with them when they're fertile and when they're not, and how they can actually build on this and build on that. So when we actually lived through NFP as a couple, our children, as they grew up, they saw us living that.
Right.
And it was something that over time they said, they felt, I believe, that they wanted it as well. And so now as being married themselves, having children, they're using the same system.
Right.
And I'm very happy, I'm very grateful to God, because I could I can see them growing in the intimacy with each other too, despite the fact that they can be very tired with the kids, despite the fact that they can be very tired with the housework and other aspects of life, like work and so on. But they make the effort, and I can see that they make the time to communicate with each other, because I think living NFP has helped them to walk in that direction in a better way. Yeah.
And your kids are, I think, a lot younger than John's.
I think so.
Yeah. So how do you and your wife also communicate, the way you've planned your family? And did you actually at the onset seek an expert's advice or something like that before you went into natural family planning?
Yes. So for us, the journey was not always smooth, because when we wanted to have children, my wife actually conceived quite quickly, but she encountered a miscarriage. Yeah.
Oh, sorry to
So
hear that.
yeah. So, and she not encountered once; it was twice as well. So we did need to seek experts like Dr. John in neprotechnology as well.
Right.
So part of the journey was really to learn why she was not able to sustain the pregnancy.
Right.
Yeah. So our journey was not smooth, but God was kind and generous with us, and through learning of neprotechnology methods and treatment, we were able to conceive the first one, and the second one, and the third one. Yeah. And
the fourth one
by
came
God's
along.
grace, the fourth one didn't need much. So it was really a miracle, yeah, in that sense. Yeah.
Praise
So
the Lord.
I think the knowledge of our NFP community, our instructors, has got, I think, close to 50 years of experience
Right.
in both the method and also family life, journeying with a lot of couples that we share with our learning couples as well.
Right.
And much wisdom is being shared about family life and how they can be generous and also build intimacy within their marriage in a very deep way through the learning of the method. Yeah. So everybody's journey is different,
Yes.
but this method and this knowledge of the Catholic way of family life and living out our family life is very well grounded and very tried and tested throughout the ages.
Right.
And we are happy to share that with more and more couples.
You have now 2 teenage boys.
Yeah, 2 teenage boys and 2 preteen girls.
Okay. Have you had an opportunity to speak to them about natural family planning?
Yes, because they know me and my wife are both trained in the method. And,
Right.
we instruct couples, we share about it, whether we are instructing or
So they're used
promoting
to-
the method. Yeah.
Couples coming to your home and you chatting with them?
Well, they know I go to teach the method to couples, and they have part of grown up with our community of
Right.
our instructors and a very life-giving, love-giving community of parents and
So
grandparents.
how have you been able to communicate NFP to them?
Yeah. So in our little ways, we introduce them to various parts of the anatomy and also what it's used for and how it's part of building towards family life in the future, and how vocation, whether they are meant to get married or not. We occasionally have discussions to see where they're at. 4 of them, we have to have 4 sets of
Yeah.
conversations to see where they're at. Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yes.
Ah.
All right, if you've just joined us here today on the bright side, we have Dr. John Hui. He's a family physician in private practice and host of the podcast series Catholic Parents Online. He obtained a graduate diploma in bioethics from the Pontifical John Paul II Institute for Marriage and Family. And Dr. John is also a certified natural family planning medical consultant with the Pope Paul VI Institute. Now, Andy Wee has been involved in NFP for about 18 years and is trained in the Crichton Model Fertility Care System, and he's also a certified NFP instructor in the Billings ovulation method. Yeah.
I think I'm going to come back to you, Andy. Now, what if a partner is, or what if an unplanned pregnancy happens? How do you, help couples through these unforeseen circumstances? I mean, if NFP, I'm sure they'll come and say, if NFP was, so exact, how did this happen? So how do you help them along? And how often does an unplanned pregnancy happen, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah. So the method itself actually is very accurate and reliable. Statistically speaking, it's about theoretically 99.5% effective.
Wow.
In practical use, through learning errors, misunderstanding what is being taught, about 96.8% accurate. Yeah.
Right.
So when we teach couples, right from the beginning, we tell them about the church's teaching, about life-giving love and being open to life. That's the foundation. We are being open to life because in sexual intercourse, it can result in a pregnancy. Yeah, that is the nature of our bodies, right? So the foundation is being open to life, and then learning the method gives us a map, like in a forest, to understand where we are in the cycle. Sometimes cycles can change, and sometimes couples are not diligent enough. Maybe they miss certain information and they misunderstand certain information. Or maybe even it's an act of God, maybe in a way, to intervene to say, God wants to give you this child. And maybe the mixture of both, And pregnancies can happen even though the intention of the couple is to postpone pregnancy.
Right.
And couples are, in a way, predisposed to know that, to be open to life. If that happens, they embrace it as a gift from God. So many couples today want to have children, but they do not receive that gift. Maybe they're not ready. Maybe it's not happening. Things like that. But if you have been given the gift, then we encourage them to embrace the gift. The reality is there's a lot of support around, families and all that.
Right.
Yeah, can assist them. Often, maybe if it's unplanned or they're not ready, there are a lot of thoughts going through their mind. How are we going to handle this new child?
Yeah.
Maybe finances could be a big concern.
Yeah.
Yeah. And among the community, there's a lot of assistance available. I'm sure CFL has got help as well. Various community services can assist them to address any anxiety or any shortfall they may encounter. And hopefully we can guide them to welcome the child and see through, the pregnancy.
Yeah, through the, if I may chip in.
Sure, please, John.
Usually when I journey with patients, I always tell these couples that the main objective, just remember, the main objective of this journey is to bond closer with each other. No matter what the outcome may be. For example, if you're planning to try to have a baby and we are trying to help you in the meantime to try to overcome the negative factors and try to optimize the positive factors to achieve pregnancy, don't just focus on having a baby. Focus on each other. Because when you build your marriage and you're closer to each other, you bond more closely with each other, you become better lovers. And as better lovers, you become better parents. And for those who are perhaps planning to postpone a pregnancy for the meantime because of some serious reason that they are unable to cope yet, or they think they are unable to cope yet, as they bond more closely with each other, even if by that small chance, and they're using the system well, but by that small chance, if they happen to get pregnant, they're usually more open. They're more open to life. And because very often when I journey with ladies who get pregnant, planned or unplanned, very often one of the most important determining factors for their decision subsequently is the support they get from the spouse, from the family. And especially the spouse. So if they're really close with each other and they're really so bonded together, the chances of them continuing to support each other would be much higher, and the baby, because true love is life-giving.
You sort of alluded to a question that was actually on my mind, and and it's so true that it's an opportunity really for a couple actually to really actually grow together and to know each other so much more. But what happens if there is within the couple one partner who is either skeptical or says, I don't believe in all of this, it's all mumbo jumbo? How do you work on that side, that kind of situation?
In these situations, very often we need a good conversation with the spouse who is with us, whether it's the husband or the wife. See where the issues are and where the concerns are, right? And from there, once we can get the conversation
most
going,
times they are real
They are real concerns.
Yeah.
They're real concerns. And I think we cannot just dismiss them.
Correct.
We need to know where they are coming from, because every couple is different.
Yeah.
And every couple will have their own concerns, their own issues, which we must address. It's not kind of generic, one-size-fits-all kind of answer that we give. We need to see where each one is coming from.
Yep.
And once we can bring them into the conversation, we understand better where their concerns are, we can see how we can bring the spouse into the picture. And then from there on, we can continue the conversation. I think it's important that both of them must feel understood and not judged, right? And they must feel that they are supported in the decision that they make. Especially, basically, of course, it's a good decision that we want them to make, hopefully, right? But it is their decision. And if they feel that they are understood, they feel listened to, it is very much more likely that they'll be more open to going through and learning more about this very life-giving system, way of life.
Okay, so I think we have to also talk about contraception and NFP, right? So the Catholic Church, we're all for NFP, but what is the difference? Because I guess there can be, misconceptions of that contraception. NFP is contraception. So could you break that down a little bit for us?
Yeah. That's a very good question,
Okay.
Beats, actually.
Actually, if you want to really get to the nitty-gritty of it, sometimes NFP can be used as a form of with contraceptive mentality, so to speak.
Right,
But
okay.
strictly speaking, contraception as
That's not
defined,
meant to be,
That's not
right?
meant to be, right? Because
Yeah.
we are actually called to be open and generous, at the same time responsible, to be generous and responsible with how we plan our family in cooperation with God's grace.
That's
And
the
so-
vow, actually, that we take.
that's the type of vow
To
we take.
accept- yeah.
Exactly. So, if you think about it, the vows that we take were to on our wedding day, right? Was to love each other freely, totally,
Yep.
faithfully, and fruitfully,
Absolutely.
right? And when we proclaim those vows at the altar, and when we go back to our home and our marital bed, we actually proclaim those vows in and through our bodies
Absolutely.
to love each other freely, totally, faithfully, and fruitfully.
And that's why marriage is a sacrament.
It's a sacrament. Yeah, that's right. Because we participate in God's plan and His love and His grace. We're actually participating in the communion of persons as planned by God Himself, the eternal exchange of love in the Holy Trinity. And we are called to participate in that. In His plan, in His love, it's awesome. It's just awesome. And He wants us to have the fullness of life. Right? But unfortunately, sometimes we have our own plans. Like Adam and Eve had their own plans, right? They thought they knew better what was good for them, and they then grasped for the fruit of that tree, right? Similarly, very often we ourselves, I've messed up many times in my life, right? Sometimes we just think that we know better than God, and then we just choose what we think is good for us. But God obviously knows better, right? So basically, God's plan is to really want us to participate fully in His love. And so if you think about it, if we can actually really participate fully in God's love, we will have all the graces that He's so prepared to give to us in our marriage, right? To help us build our intimacy, our love, right? And so on, and communication and so on, right? Yeah. So if we were to look into the differences between NFP and contraception, perhaps I could share with it 4 different levels. One would be the biological level, all right? Whereby in contraception, we tend to change our system, our body, in order to suit how we want to behave, right? Not suit our behavior. In natural family planning or fertility awareness, we actually adapt or change our behavior to suit our body's natural system, right?
I like what you said, fertility awareness.
Awareness, yes, that's right.
Ah.
It's basically a fertility awareness, so that knowing the gifts of God in this area of fertility awareness, we can then discern with prayer what is the best way moving forward and decide how we want to cooperate with God's plan with the knowledge of this fertility awareness.
Right.
Yeah, so that's biological. The second level would actually, in a sense, be a psychological one, you might say. For example, there's this thing called the language of the body, as St. John Paul II has told us, right? If you look at it in NFP, it is like, I give myself totally to you, unreservedly, all my part. I reserve nothing. I hold nothing back of myself. And guess what? I love you, and I want to receive all of you as you are, as God has made you so beautiful as you are, and I'm not going to reject any part of you.
Right.
Right? But contraception might say, no, I love you, but this little part of you, I don't think I'm quite keen on that. All right, so it's like a little bit of a conditional thing there, you know?
Right.
Yeah, and of course, the third level would be the theological level. In the sense, like I said, you know, God wants us to participate in His fullness of His love, which is free, total, faithful, and fruitful. But when we use contraception, it sort of like takes that away. And we are unable, in a sense, it deprives the couple of participating fully
right.
in God's love, right?
Absolutely.
And the fourth level, I would say, would be, in a sense, cultural. I mean, if you think about it, if we can have sex without babies and we have to remove babies from the equation of sexual intercourse, then if you think about it, why have marriage, right? Because marriage is really basically meant for babies to give them the best environment possible to flourish in life, right?
Yes.
So if we don't need marriage, then, well, and if it's just for pleasure and not for babies, why need marriage anyway, right? And which is why we might be tempted to areas of premarital sex, extramarital sex, and so on, right? And if you think about it, and if sex is that for pleasure, not necessarily for generation, then being male and female doesn't mean much anymore. You know, we can actually then choose what we want to be, you know. And so at a cultural level, there are many implications. And if we look at the world where we are today, and especially in the Western world, we can see where we've been heading through. You know, So these are more or less the four levels I think of in terms of the differences between the two.
Wow, I wonder how many couples actually really can think of it, you know, in at those levels, because it also takes a certain amount of maturity to understand, both spiritually as well as psychologically as well.
You're talking about my age, right?
We're not far off.
Welcome to the club.
So, Andy, I was going to ask you the next question actually. If you had to do things all over again, what would you do different, maybe, or what would you have done? Maybe better. I don't know.
Yeah, to add on to what John said, I think the word counterfeit comes to mind. You know, what the church gives us is really the true love, true life-giving map that we can follow as a family. You know,
like that,
husband and wife getting married, committing themselves fully to each other, freely and also fruitfully, right? Because love cannot be contained just between husband and wife, and if possible, they are open to life. They receive the gift from God to be fruitful. And counterfeit is what I see contraceptive, because it breaks away this whole love and life, procreative and unitive aspects of the intimacy, intercourse, and it really takes away that giving you something that does not last, does not give you the satisfaction, does not give you something that grounds your marriage in a very strong and firm way. Yeah. So for me, I think I would have benefited if I learned NFP earlier. You know, maybe not just the method, but the philosophy, the understanding of the church's teaching. And today is possible. In fact, in theology of the body, teachings and all that, many people can really understand God's plan for us and take it into our life, and also helps us to find the right life partner as well, who have the similar thinking and similar goals in life. Yeah.
Right.
So I would say, let's equip our young people, more of them, with this knowledge of God's plan for love and marriage, natural family planning, the method, fertility awareness, so that they can really live out their marriage and their vocation fully.
But how do you introduce NFP to young couples today? And what's the receptivity quotient like, you know?
Honestly, I think it's quite low because of the culture in which many of us have been brought up, and especially in today's world. You know? So very often, you know, in the past, we used to tell people that, hey, look, this is true, and therefore it is good for you, and therefore live it, and then you find that it's beautiful. Nowadays, the young won't accept that.
Correct.
What we need to do when we want to evangelize is to actually reverse it a little bit, right? We need to let them see the beauty the beauty of marital love as God has planned it to be. And once they can see the beauty of that marital love, they'll see why it is good. And then once they can grasp why it is good, they will see the truth behind it. And when they see what is true, good, and beautiful, which is really God Himself,
Right.
it is only then will they be drawn. So it is, in a sense, a different way of evangelizing today, that we have to really, evangelize by beauty first. And then when they see the beauty, they'll look at it and say, hey, I want that too. Of course, you have to pray about it, and you have to let the Holy Spirit guide them through. We are just instruments.
Yeah. Because, you're right. And nowadays, couples are, very well educated. They're also very career-minded. Or, they know that there are certain goals that they want to hit first before they begin a family. So, sharing with them, I think, or the more opportunities that you have to interact with them, share with them the beauty of natural family planning, needs to be expanded. I suppose the opportunities,
Yes,
right?
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think
sorry.
we need to, as parents, as grandparents, we need to role model a lot of the good knowledge that we have and life experiences.
Yeah.
Maybe not to your own children, because sometimes they don't listen, but to your friends' children, to your family members' children. I think all the examples of a good marriage practices and life-giving fruitfulness and love will really go a long way,
Right.
in demonstrating that the plan of God is really lived out, in each of our lives, in church and in our family members in church as well, So catechists, priests, fellow friends, we all have a part to play to educate and to share this message with the young.
Yeah. Having said that, I must also acknowledge that it is not absolutely easy. The journey can be tough, especially during times when you want to have more physical and sexual intimacy, but you can't. You know that you are not ready yet.
Yeah.
It can be very tough for young couples, even for old couples too.
Yeah.
But the thing is that we also acknowledge that it is through going through the difficult phases and challenges and overcoming them with God's grace that we can become even closer and more intimate with each other. And it is, in a sense, a short-term pain and a long-term gain.
Right.
And I think it's something which we also need to share with them. But at the same time, acknowledge we can fall. We have to pick ourselves up with God's grace and move on and follow His plan. After all, Christ did say, if you really want to be my disciple, you must deny yourself,
Yes.
pick up your cross, and follow me.
Follow me,
And when we signed our marriage contract, I think that's what it means too. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I have
Absolutely.
one more question
Yes.
for maybe younger listeners who are tuning in right now. Let's say this is the first time I'm hearing about NFP, right? Or maybe I've gotten a little bit more interested about what NFP is all about.
Right.
So then what is the next step? Maybe either Andy or Dr. John, you can share with us. What is the next step that I can take to even begin this conversation with my significant other, or even to find out more information on how to even begin,
I think the young are very savvy with social media and the internet nowadays.
Yes.
So we usually would ask them to Google things like not just natural family planning, but really go through the sites of Billings ovulation method, the NEPRO technology, the Creighton model system of fertility care, and the other systems which are available as well in other parts of the world. But in Singapore, it is mainly the Billings ovulation method as well as the Creighton model system of fertility care, which are taught in Singapore. Right? And then from there on, we also encourage them to seek perhaps the assistance of the NFP instructors to help them understand their own bodies better, their own systems better, do the charting better. So as they do that, they'll be able to recognize their own symptoms and their own signs and their own bodies better. And they will feel very empowered to actually know what's, to be empowered with the knowledge that they have of their own body system, and they know what they can do with it, in a very beautiful way. So it is important to also note that couples, young couples and young individuals should not just go on the internet, think that they have read out something and they know it, and then they just go and practice it themselves, because every person is different. Every lady is different, and she might have own interesting cycle, which needs to be analyzed by experts, the instructors, who can then guide them in understanding their own cycles better and be able to use the system better to suit their own bodies.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in fact, we are looking for younger people who want to learn. And we want to empower the younger generation. Okay, I'm not so young anymore, but still younger. But
You're talking to me, huh?
The language of the younger people, right, is a little bit different from even my generation. So we want to bring it down to them. So we are looking for young people who want to learn. They can come to us. They can sit in with us. We can instruct them really to understand basics about human sexuality and the church's teaching. It all falls in line, really as part of a very beautiful plan. We want to impart to them this beautiful plan, hopefully before the world floods them with all that stuff, right? So there's lots of information online, but really learning of the method, it's a personal sharing and journey that our instructors have been doing for the last 50 years. Yeah.
Wow.
So, but we want to bring it to the young people, empower the young people so that they can bring the next generation along with this knowledge of the fertility awareness. Yeah.
I think that should be our prayer really, to enable and to also gift the younger generation this beautiful gift, which is actually already there, given to us freely by God, but so often sometimes misunderstood, sometimes even abused. Or misused. We still truly need guidance. Yeah. Thank you. That's about the time, really, gentlemen, that we have. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
For
you very
joining
much.
us today. Dr. John Hui and Andy Hui, both of them are experts in national family planning, and they've been in this for so long already. And so, dear sisters and brothers, really, if you do need some information about natural family planning, you can contact the Catholic Family Life as well, and they'll be able to point you in the right direction. I'm not going to give you any specifics right now, but maybe that'll force you a little bit more to go and look it up yourself. As Dr. John said, social media to find everything, so to speak.
Yeah, and always good to have an expert opinion and a professional to guide you on this personal journey.
Indeed.
So with that, we hope you're enjoying this collaborative series with Catholic Family Life. And so the Bright Side broadcasts every alternate Thursdays at 8:30 a.m. with our encore at 8 p.m. the same day and 5 p.m. the following day. Alternatively, if you'd like to catch the podcast version, we also have that available for you. You can listen to it on our Catholic SG radio app, as well as on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
Indeed. And you can also watch it on the Archdiocese YouTube channel, all right? That should be out at 8 p.m. tonight.
Yep.
Yeah. So watch out for all of that. And really, as Beat said, if you really want to do it at your own time, the podcasts are there for you. You can listen to it anytime. I'm Andre Achak. Thank you so much, together with Beatrice de Cruz. Thanks so much for being with us here on Catholic SG Radio. Bye-bye.
Bye.